outside of Southern Maryland, welcome. I started out as a regional, what was called a regional marine specialist, spent a lot of my time in the water. I now spend a lot of my time on land, basically cleaning up water. And so I will be doing a rain barrel presentation that I do quite frequently in Southern Maryland, but I usually do it as an in-person outside program with no PowerPoint, and I usually standing next to a barrel. So what we wanted to do was to try to have a little bit of both go on. Uh, so I have some video that I have as part of the PowerPoint so that you can actually see me with the barrel, see me around the house, etc. So I'm just going to kind of go from there. And the first thing before I even jump into talking about this is I'm going to launch a quick little poll here. Hopefully everyone can see this poll. I just want to know, what is the primary reason that you might be interested in a rain barrel? Now you can only pick one. I'll just give everybody a couple of minutes to answer, and we'll move on. Always like to know this ahead of time. So we got an other, always interested in the others. Water for the garden. Okay, great. I'm going to cut it off now. If I can move my poll, great. So, and just, I'm going to share the results really quickly so you can see water conservation, water for your garden, all great reasons for having a rain barrel. And so what is a rain barrel? So a rain barrel is just, it's a barrel that collects water, any type of catchment that catches water off a building, and you're harvesting that water for reuse down the road. And you may hear me say this a couple times. We're harvesting water. We're not going to be water hoarders. So I want you to always keep that in the back of your mind. You're not going to be hoarding water. So you all have some great reasons for wanting a rain barrel. Myself and Nicole, we're both watershed restoration educators, and what we look to do is to help clean up local water quality or from our surface waters. And a rain barrel is really great at doing that as well. And so you're going to get what you want out of it, and I'm going to get what I want out of it. And every rain barrel that goes in is going to help with water quality. And I'm kind of just going to give you a little bit of an overview on that. So in an area where we're quite, let's say we're quite rural. I'm actually on the Eastern Shore right now. When it rains, where does water want to go? Well, water wants to go into the ground. And so this is where Mother Nature cleans the water, because actually rainwater isn't necessarily very clean. In fact, in the Chesapeake Bay region, 30% of all the nitrogen that lands in our Chesapeake Bay watershed actually comes from the atmosphere. And that nitrogen is actually a byproduct of car exhaust. It's actually called nitrous oxide. So every time it rains, you may notice that you get this nice green up around your property. Well, that green up isn't just from the rain. It's also because you're getting this free shot of fertilizer. And so when it rains, we really want that water to go into the ground, and we want the plants and the soil to absorb that nitrogen, take that nitrogen out of the system. But we do know that the water also will go across the surface, and it also moves horizontal underground. And when it does that, it moves the water into our creeks and streams, and it naturally recharges our aquifers. It naturally recharges our streams. It's where we get our base flow for our streams. So this isn't a really nice natural system. This is how it's supposed to work. Unfortunately, when we start paving everything and we start putting a bunch of impervious surface in, the rainwater doesn't have the ability to soak into the ground, to infiltrate, to have essentially Mother Nature clean it up for us. And what happens is that water goes down these artificial drains that we're creating, and it is artificially moving underground, and it's of course moving overground because it can't sink in, and it's moving into our streams and systems. But rather than having a very slow increase in the volume of water that we're seeing, we see a very quick and rapid increase. And that quick and rapid increase is actually what causes a lot of flooding. So when we start talking about the amount of water here, what we're talking about is on one acre of asphalt, 1 acre of impervious surface, if it rains 1 inch, we're talking about 27,000 gallons of water. And that's a lot of water to put somewhere. In a natural system, that water is going to go into the soil and soak down and go into our groundwater. 27,000 gallons of water being redirected into a local stream is going to have some catastrophic flooding and erosion in that stream. So again, how do we take care of that? You may not think about it, but your rain barrel, as small as it may be, is going to help, not just environmentally, it's going to clean up and catch that first flush of that, what we call dirty water, that water that's full of nitrogen. So that's going to come down and it's going to end up in your barrel. It's also going to help control volume. Now, of course, if you're going to go with a standard rain barrel, we're talking about a 55-gallon drum. You may not be able to, you're not treating 27,000 gallons, but you are doing your part to capture a very small amount of water at your household, which then can be infiltrated into the system later on. So a day or two or 3 or 4 or even a week later, when it has stopped raining and the ground has dried up, you can let that water go back into the ground and infiltrate back into the system, and that water ends up becoming clean. The nitrogen that you've captured now can be used for the plants, and it can actually then be used for recharge of groundwater and recharge of our local streams. So it does have a water quality benefit to it. So here's my first video. You can see I live on a farm, and this is my demonstration barrel, but I wanted to kind of give you all a sense of being with me and listening to me over a PowerPoint. So let's see.
Hey there, I'm Jackie. Let's talk about the parts to a rain barrel. Now, you could go into any of the big box home improvement stores and spend hundreds of dollars on a rain barrel for your home. Or you can do what I'm doing here, and this is my demonstration barrel, and you can actually build a barrel out of recycled materials that you may have around the home or you may find elsewhere. So first and foremost, let's talk about the pieces. The first important part is the barrel. You need something to actually collect the water in. And so what I'm using here is a recycled 55-gallon drum. And if you're using a recycled product, you want to make sure that you're using a food grade product. You don't want to use any petroleum-based products because you don't want what was ever in that barrel in the first place to leach out of the barrel itself and into your water. So it's always best to stick with food grade products. So the barrel I have here is actually a syrup container. Another popular barrel type are pickle containers. So that's the first thing you want to be able to get a hold of, is a nice food grade barrel. From there, the next thing is you want to get the water into the barrel. So how do we do that? In our case here, what we have is we have cut a hole in the top of the barrel, and we have it fitted with a simple pond filter with a piece of screen material melted right onto the top of it. The screen material is fine enough that it will not allow mosquitoes to enter into it, and that sits nicely right on top. And what's nice about this is that if you've got debris that comes in from your downspouts, very easy to take this off, hang it against the side of your rain barrel, and it's all clean. Now, I do have individuals that ask me, well, why can't I just take my downspout and plumb it directly into the barrel itself? Just cut a small hole in and put the downspout in. And you could do that. However, you have to make sure you have really clean rain gutters, because everything that's coming into your rain barrel is going to come from that rain gutter. And so if you've got leaves and twigs and other debris that are coming off your rooftop, they're going to end up in the bottom of this barrel. And then they're going to start to rot and decay. They're going to clog up your barrel. So you really want to make sure that the materials that are coming off the roof biological or not biological, or that aren't ending up inside your rain barrel, which is why it's nice to have a screen like this to do that. Well, once the water is in, then somehow the water has to come out. So we have 3 different options in this barrel itself. You'll see down here on the bottom, we have the drain. The drain is a nice metal fixture which will hold up to freezing in the winter. It'll hold up to smacking it with your foot. It won't crack. So I always recommend using a stainless steel brass fitting in that area. It also has a valve so you can turn it on and off. Off the other side, we have our overflow. This is a simple hole as at the top of the barrel that is fitted with a compression fitting and just a long pipe off the end or tube off the end. You can make this tube as long as you'd like. What this allows is that once your rain barrel does become full, it allows the water not to come up over the top, but come out and be directed to where you'd like the water to go. Now, mind you, in a small rain event, possibly don't want this thing overflowing. If it is overflowing, maybe you're hoarding your water. Large rain events, you may have some overflow. So you can direct this to exactly where you want it to go. You can make it as long or as short as you'd like. Another option is you can put your own little spigot on it. I typically recommend, if an individual wants a spigot, make it about 18 inches high. This is the perfect height to put a 5-gallon bucket under it or a watering can under it so that you can fill up your can and then take the water to where you want. Now, of course, you have to be holding water that is above the spigot itself. But again, you'll notice that this is a nice brass spigot. It's not going to break if it freezes. It'll hold up really well. So one other thing that you need to recognize when you are using a recycled product is anywhere that water may end up standing and sitting still, because we don't, of course, want to breed mosquitoes. So in a barrel such as this, again, this is a syrup barrel, you'll see that it's got these 2 ports where the syrup is poured out of, and water could stand in there and become a breeding ground for mosquitoes. So in my case, I purchased a cap that I can fit straight over that, and that will stop water from standing. And then, of course, along the edge here, water could stand along the edge. And so what I recommend is to take a drill and just simply drill some weep holes from the inside to the outside of the barrel. Don't go into the barrel, but just so that when it does rain, water will weep through. So there are the basics for a do-it-yourself rain barrel.
Okay, so we had a couple questions that came up while that was playing. So I'm going to jump on some of the questions as they're coming up. And the first question was about the cost. So this barrel here, this is a basic barrel that one of my partners in Maryland used to build. They used to sell this barrel, as you're seeing it, for $85 a barrel. And I was able to get an educational discount, so they were selling them to me at $75 a barrel. I can actually build these. We build them at the university for $65 a barrel. And for those of you in Southern Maryland, the discount that we can offer based on the counties putting money in is actually a $35 discount. So this basic barrel, minus the spigot, mind you, sorry about that, would only cost a homeowner $30 to be able to get. Now, could you make it cheaper? Absolutely. You absolutely could make it cheaper by using a different type of barrel. If you had the fittings at home already, you could definitely make it better. And then Mr. Barry, thank you very much for putting in the wearingbarrels.com. That's actually where I purchase my barrels from. So you can actually purchase food grade barrels anywhere you want. And then I think I had a question about locking the drain in place. You really don't need to lock your drain in place. This is a rain barrel. You're using a metal or brass fittings. You can screw that right. You drill a hole into the side, and we will send all the participants a PDF copy of actually how to build one of these that have the specs on what type of hole saw to use, and the sizes of the hole saws and everything else. But you're just going to screw it right in there. There's no need to lock it in. If you're afraid it's going to leak, it's a rain barrel, so it's going to be wet anyway around it. I always tell people you can use a little Teflon tape. So those are just a couple of our questions. So thinking about the size of the barrel that you want to consider a few things. The roof area, if you're really intent on capturing all the rainwater coming off your roof, I'm going to give you the math in a second on how to do that. Think about how much water you actually would like to have and like to be able to use on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. If you're holding water for 3 or 4 weeks, I'm going to tell you that you are hoarding your water, and I do not want you to do that. How much space you have. So do you have space to put a large barrel or multiple barrels? And then this last one is really probably the most important one, and it's how tolerant are the people you live with or you live around to having these barrels. I always used to joke that my first home, I didn't have barrels because my ex-husband really wasn't fond of their look. It's not why he's my ex-husband, but that's why it was very difficult for me, because I had somebody in my home who wasn't on board with me. You'll see now my new home has rain barrels on them. So if you're interested in doing the math, or interested to see what the amount of water that comes off your roof, there is a very easy math formula for that. This is the highest math that I promise we'll do all night. But you're going to take the drainage area of your roof that is going into that particular downspout, and you're going to multiply it by the number of inches of rain that has come down in a storm event, and by points. And then you're going to multiply that by 0.6. And that's going to give you the volume. So of course, you're going to need to know a few things. You're going to have to be able to measure your roof size. And in this picture here, if I had a second downspout on the end of my roof here, I would be splitting this area in half, with the assumption that half the water goes to the front barrel and half the water would go to the back downspout. So you want to make sure that you're taking that in consideration. You'll also have to have some type of rain gauge to help you out as well. So in this situation, if we go ahead and we measure our roof, and we know it's 10 by 10, and we know that it rained, and we got a ½ inch of rain, if we do that math, then in that rain event, we would be capturing 30 gallons of water. And in fact, if we had a 55-gallon barrel, this barrel would be able to hold that entire rainfall event. This is one of the, I think I alluded to this earlier, that in my first marriage, with my first home, I didn't have barrels because my ex-husband did not like the look of the barrel. And so there's a ways of getting around that. And I thought we'll
Before we
show
go
that.
ahead and attach this barrel to your home, there's one more thing you may want to do. You may want to give it a nice paint job. And the reason I say that is because if you're using a recycled barrel, they often come in white or blue, sometimes even green. And that may not match the aesthetics of your home. So you can very easily paint this barrel to match the color of your home or the greenery around your home, so that it is actually hidden a bit more. Very easy to do, only takes 4 steps. The first one is little soap and water, wash down the barrel, get all the grime off of it. Let it dry. Once it's dry, take a fine grit sandpaper, just give it a quick once over. Don't make yourself crazy getting every nook and cranny, just rough it up a bit. Then from there, take a little bit of rubbing alcohol on a paper towel and wipe down the barrel itself. The last step is to grab yourself a can of paint specifically made for plastic that you can get from any of your home improvement stores. They come in an array of different colors nowadays, and just go ahead and spray it right on. You'll see here in my demonstration barrel, I have a couple different techniques. I went with a tan on this side, kind of matches my home. If you want to jazz it up a little bit, you can do something along these lines. This is probably about as jazzy as I get. Paint it the color of the vegetation around your home, and then I just used some leaf fronds that I had around the home and spray painted over another color over top of it, so you kind of can see that leaf imprint. And then lastly, if you really do have some artistic skill, you can actually paint all sorts of designs on the side of your barrel itself.
So you'll see down here in the bottom a couple of other designs that people have done with their rain barrels. The two outermost ones were done at a school. So I know that Jenna had asked a question about making mimic gutters systems for their school. Of course you can. Anything that can get the water into your barrel is great. This is actually a fundraiser event. We had those kids at the school decorate rain barrels and actually auction them off.
Before we go,
Whoa, we don't want that. All right. So now that you have a barrel and you want, now that you've purchased this barrel, and I will talk about purchasing the barrel and how to do that later towards the end. But once you purchase it, the next thing you want to do is you want to install that barrel. And to be very honest with you, one of the reasons why I don't ever give rain barrels away is that we found in a survey, when somebody comes home with a free rain barrel, 80% of them don't get installed. You got to have a little skin in the game. And if I know that you're purchasing a barrel, you're going to be serious enough to install this barrel. So let's go ahead and talk about installing the barrel. And the first is choosing the right location.
Okay, now it's time to install this rain barrel against the house. So in determining which downspout we're going to place our rain barrel, there's a few things that we need to consider. First, can we access the drains on the barrel? So depending on our downspout, can we actually get to the spigot, should we have one? Can we get to the drain so that we can actually drain it? Is there the ability to put the overflow where we would like to see the overflow to go? So that's the first thing we need to consider. The second thing you need to consider is can you level the ground area where this rain barrel is going to sit? It's really important to make sure that your rain barrel is level. You'll notice that this one is currently a bit tipped. And right now, that's not a big deal because there's not that much water in this barrel at all. However, water weighs 8 pounds per gallon. So as we start filling this barrel up, this barrel will get very heavy. And if it is tipped to any side, that barrel has the opportunity to potentially fall over. And if it falls, it can damage itself or anything else that's around it. And then lastly, in deciding its location, you want to make sure that the barrel is safe from other things that could potentially knock it over, like small children running around your yard, animals running around your yard, or storm events. Do you have big wind events that come through your property in a certain direction that could take an empty barrel and pull it away from your house? So these are a few things that you need to think about. Let's take a look at 3 of the downspouts on my home. This first downspout appears as if it may be a great place to put a rain barrel. However, if we start looking at the site itself, it isn't very level and it will require a little bit of grading on my part, not too much to be concerned about. There is also a water spigot 10 feet off to the right-hand side of the downspout, making the need for water in this area not necessary. There is ease of access, which is great, but my biggest concern is that this is a pretty open area and we get a lot of wind events that whip through this part of my house that could actually take the rain barrel and pull it away from the house. Here's a second possible location for our rain barrel. And the first 2 positive things that you'll see is that it is in an area that is fairly protected from being knocked over. And the area at the bottom is nice and level. So there wouldn't be much effort having to be put into that. On the downside, however, there is a water spigot right in this location. So the need for water isn't great in this area. There is also a propane tank off to the right, which will make getting to that and servicing that problem. And then the access to the drain and the spigot may also be compromised due to a bit of a cramped location. The last spot I have available for installing a rain barrel in my home is at this downspout. The nice thing about this downspout is that it is in a very protected area where it will not be knocked over or moved by wind or other events. The ground at the bottom is very flat, so little grading will have to take place. There is no water source in this area for that hosta and the other shrubs and plants in my garden, so it will be able to provide the water that is needed to the area. The only downside may be my access to the drain valve or the spigot. since I'll have to step over the hosta.
So, one of the things with the placements or the location of the rain barrel that I had mentioned was the opportunity for the barrel to be a bit protected. And so in site number one, where a site number one is a great site. But again, as I had mentioned, my house is on a 300 acre farm. So when we have a wind and storm event, we get a lot of wind. And so the concern is really about that barrel being dragged away from the home, damaging itself, damaging something else. But in some cases, some people are really set that that's where they want their barrel to be. That's where maybe it's the only really good location. And if that is the case, you can artificially weigh down your barrel. So I want you to understand that you can artificially weigh it down by putting some bricks on the inside of it, make it heavier. You can also strap that barrel to that house. You can see I had my house is a log home, so it would be very easy for me to put 2 eye hooks into the side of the house, and then strap that sucker on with some bungee cords, and then that rain barrel wouldn't really go anywhere. So again, when you're looking at this, you want to take a lot of different things into consideration.
Okay, now it's time to install this rain barrel against the house.
Wait.
So in determining,
sorry. There we go. All right. So now moving on to actually doing the installation. And just so everyone's aware, this is my very first time doing video. So when you see the little lighting changes, that's just from me being very amateur-esque at it. Anyway, so I want to going to show you now a little bit of the installation process. So some of you might think this might not be the ideal spot for you, but for me, this is the ideal spot. This is of my 3 downspouts, the one area where I really do need some extra water. And I don't have as easy access to getting water. So maybe a little bit of an inconvenience for me to step over my hosta, but I'm willing to do that. So the first thing you want to do in installing your barrel is to take your barrel, put it up against that downspout where you're going to put it in, and make sure it does fit the way you want it to fit. So I've got my rain barrel against my downspout here. I have got my downspout connector, and you can get these again from your home improvement store. They come in a variety of different colors. I got brown, so it matches my current downspouts in the house. And so I know that I can do that very easily. So the barrel will fit in this corner nicely. Then access to water. So I basically moved this barrel into a position where I can get to the drain very easily here on the bottom. It's not underneath the deck. It's not in the back here. I can also get to the spigot very easily, and I have enough room to put a watering can or a bucket underneath. And then of course the overflow is back here to the back. I don't necessarily have to get to that. And the overflow will take the water out into the bushes. So this is a good spot for me to put my barrel. And so let's work on leveling the ground. Okay, so now you've decided where it's going to go and you're going to level the ground. You can put your rain barrel, sit it on anything that you'd like. I could put it directly down here on the mulch. I could put stones or bricks. I'm going to choose to put my rain barrel on top of 2 cinder blocks. This will raise the barrel a little bit, and it'll be easier for me to bend over to reach that drain. So again, something to consider when you're deciding where to put your rain barrel. Other people I've seen have built little tables to elevate it a little bit higher. I could have also have put that barrel right up here onto my porch if I wanted to, but then it would get in the way of my swing and other things I have on the porch. So I personally don't want it there. So first things first, I'm going to start by leveling out this mulched area here so that it's nice and flat. Put the mulch away from the side of my house. I'm going to take my cinder blocks. And again, what's really important is make sure those cinder blocks are level, both side to side and front to back. Wow, did that on the first try. Well, once it's all leveled, then you can put your rain barrel back on it.
Okay, now the final step, cutting the downspout. So we've got our rain barrel lined up. We know exactly where we want it to go. We take our downspout connector and we have it mangled into a shape that works. And we put it up against the downspout. What you want to do is you want to take your marker and simply mark off where the connector touches the top. This is where most people panic now, cutting the downspout. So that is where the top of the connector goes. What we are going to do is we are going to cut a good 3 inches below that. Now, to protect the side of your house, you want to make sure you slip a piece of cardboard in there. I've got some wire in here too, so I want to make sure that goes behind there because we don't want to cut that as well, or I've got no television. And you're just going to go ahead and cut. Whew. Once it's cut, you're going to take out your piece of extra. Now you're going to take your downspout connector and you're simply going to slip the downspout into the connector, push it up some. At this point, you can take 2 screws and secure that into the side, or if you push it up and it's tight against, it'll pretty much stay there. And then you take your the bottom end and you make sure that's pushed up against your screen here, and that'll ensure that the screen also stays down up against the barrel itself. So there you go. Now all we're waiting for is a good rainfall.
So this again, keeping our rain barrel economic. This is the most economical way to attach a rain barrel to your home. You'll see down, I have 2 other pictures of diverters. So there are rain gutter diverters that you can use on a rain barrel where you aren't necessarily cutting away your entire gutter system. So if you wanted to keep your gutters whole and just pull water off into that barrel, you do have the ability to do this, but these can be costly. These can be the same, if not more, than the cost of your rain barrel if you're building that rain barrel yourself. Just know that there are other options out there. And so I'm, as I said, I'm trying to answer some questions as I go. So I have a question about why would you build before you knew where it would live? I guess, why would you have a rain barrel before you knew where it was going to go? That's a really good question. Some people, I've had people that have come to workshops not knowing whether they wanted one and got so jazzed about wanting to save water that they got one and they were going to figure out which downspout it was going to go on when they got back. We have counties in the state of Maryland that also offer some incentives on their stormwater fees if you have barrels. So in Charles County, if you live in Charles County, Maryland, and you have 2 barrels at your house, you will actually receive half of your stormwater fee back. So some people are getting this, maybe not knowing immediately, but there are other reasons why people do that. You can have your drain and your spigot on the same side. Again, if you're building this yourself, the best part about building this yourself is that you can build it based on the exact location of where this barrel is going to sit and how easy you can get to different parts of it. The only thing I ever tell people is don't ever put the drain and the spigot basically right over top of the drain. Don't ever put them in an alignment, because if you wanted to stick a bucket on the ground and fill it up from the spigot, the drain would be in the way. So you definitely want to deal with that, not deal with that. As far as winterizing is concerned, I'll get to winterizing in 1 second. I'll get back to that when we get to the maintenance section. Uh, can the opening be offset so the curve is less severe? So the curve can be less severe simply by attaching it higher up. Can you offset the circle? Again, it really is dependent on the type of barrel that you are purchasing. And so this food grade barrel, you don't want to put that hole anywhere but in the center. It's almost impossible to cut it otherwise. So that's just something that, again, depending on the materials you're using, you can make your placement whatever is easiest for you. Um, will that clog? How does debris get past the screen? So yes, if you are somebody who does not clean your gutters often and frequently, and you have debris that comes down your gutters, that debris will end up on the screen. And so one of the maintenance things I will talk about is that after big events, you should be making sure that you're clearing off that you're clearing off the screen. You could even, where I have in this photograph, the bottom part, let me see if I can do this with the bottom part here is very flat. You could actually have that offset a little bit where it's up and the water is shooting down and maybe out. So again, it's all a little bit about a trial and error when you're using the barrel at your home. Oh, so we're going to go on. So just a couple of, I wanted to show these off. What if you need more water? There are larger options. Larger options like this, I'm not sure I would recommend you building yourself. I would recommend pre-purchasing barrels this large because, again, remember the weight of water. When you start collecting more and more water, the weight is going to be significant, and you want to make sure safety first. But you can also connect barrels in tandem. So if you see this bottom picture here, all these barrels are connected by their overflow. So the first one fills, it gets up and it overflows into the second barrel, which fills and overflows into the third. And again, I've seen this in places where people have had 6 or 7 or 8 of them. They're attached to their barns or somewhere else. It's not usually in a neighborhood. One thing you definitely want to make sure is if you do live in a neighborhood, that your neighborhood doesn't have any regulations to many barrels or barrels itself, etc. And again, I said earlier, sometimes you see them in blue. This is examples of those blue ones. So now that you have your water, what are you going to do with it? So I know a lot of you said that you wanted to use it for your plants, which is a perfect thing to use the water for. You can also wash your car. I've had friends down in St. Mary's County, Maryland, tell me that when their power goes out, they use it to flush their toilets. So it's always great to have that, especially if you've got a lot of children in your home, if you want to be able to flush those toilets. One question we do get a lot is about the use, the use for water on vegetable gardens. And I always tell people that, yes, you can use rain barrel water on vegetable gardens, but you need to take some things into consideration when you're doing that. So I have some colleagues at Rutgers University who actually did a research project looking at the water quality coming off your rooftops and what happens in that rain barrel when you're collecting that water. A lot of people are always concerned that it's the roofing material that's coming off. It's the heavy metals that are coming off your roof that may be the issue. And so they looked at that, but they also looked at bacteria. So remember, there are little critters that are flying over your house or scampering across your house, and they're leaving you little presents on top of your home too that will flush down and end up in your rain barrel. And those little treats have bacteria with them. So they looked at a study and they wanted to see what was coming off the roof material itself and what was coming basically from the critters that were running across. And what they found is in analyzing that water, that the water in the barrel from a drinking standard point of view was pretty good as you looked at the materials and the heavy metals coming off the roofs, that it is actually those contaminants were actually below EPA drinking standards. What we were worried about, where they were finding the big issues, was with fecal coliform and bacterial counts. So I always tell people, don't ever drink this water unless you find yourself naked and afraid. And if you're finding yourself naked and afraid where you live, there's probably other things going on that you still don't want to have to drink drink your rainwater. But as it comes to vegetable gardens, yes, you can. And Jenna has asked the question about treating water. And so we do tell people that if you want to use your water, and even if you want to use it on your cars or in your toilets or on your plants, and you want to make sure it's maybe a little bit safer, you can actually use a chlorine treatment. Just using regular chlorine bleach, a capful into your barrel, letting it sit for a day, that will help kill some of that bacteria as well. And we'll make sure that you get access to that Rutgers. We'll post that Rutgers report also, which has that recommendation in it as well. But if you're going to use your water on vegetable gardens, please, please, please keep these things in mind. Do not water over the vegetation. Do not water over top of fruiting vegetables. Nothing that you're going to eat, because I have a vegetable garden. I have an enormous vegetable garden, and I wash my vegetables, but I'm still out there munching on peas right now, straight from the garden. So you don't want to potentially sicken yourself by putting bacteria water on top of your fruits and vegetables. What you want to do is you want to water at the base of all your plants. You want to water the soil and their roots. So in that case, still stay away from your root vegetables. Water your tomato plants at the base, water your eggplants at the base, your peas at the base. Just water at the base of your plants. You don't want to use it, again, for washing your hands. You don't want to use for drinking. And I have this fish here, and people are like, well, I wouldn't give that water to my fish. I can get it out of my my sink. I have this in here because I actually had a partner, a county that was suggesting that people should put fish in their rain barrels to help keep their rain barrels clean. And I would argue that if you could put fish in the rain barrels, you're hoarding your water. You should not be keeping enough water in your rain barrels to support fish. So please, please, no fish in your rain barrels. Metal roof, yes, same as asphalt. All the roofing, they tested a bunch of different roofing materials. So please don't be a water hoarder. If you have water and it's been sitting in there for 2 weeks, I'm hoping that's because it's been raining for 2 weeks. If we don't have rain for over 2 weeks and you still have water in your barrel, then your plants are probably not getting the amount of water that they should get, because most plants need an inch of water weekly. So you only have 55 gallons. So make sure you're using that water. Don't hoard that water. Please, please, please don't hoard that water. So finally, my last slide is talking about maintenance. So a few things on maintenance. Let's start with just the normal care of a barrel. What you want to do is periodically go out there, just like anything else in your yard, and check on it. After big storm events, check on it. Make sure you're clearing that screen on the top. I often have people that call me and they say, my rain barrel is green. What is wrong with my rain barrel? And then I ask, is it green on the inside or the outside? And if it's the outside, well, probably your side of your house is green too. Just take the power washer to it and it'll be clean. If you've got green on the inside, that's an algae buildup. And algae grows for two different reasons. One, you're hoarding water. Algae just needs water and fertilizer and sun to grow. So if you're hoarding a lot of water, and there's always water in there, algae will grow. It's going to have nitrogen in it because it's coming in with the rainwater. So again, if you're holding that water, your algae is growing. And then the third is sunlight. So this is often people, it's only people with white barrels that call me to tell me that they have a green barrel. And that's because they can see through the white. The sunlight is going through the white. In this case, this individual with this brown barrel, they can't tell me the inside is green. They can't see it. So it's another good reason to paint your barrel. You won't see the inside of it, and the algae isn't harmful at all. So it really isn't harmful. I do tell people that on an annual basis, you will want to take it and dump it out, hose out the inside in case stuff has gotten through your screen material, just because you don't want the drain to clog. Now, in the wintertime, There's been the old thought was for people to take their barrel and take it off the house and put it away. And you could do that if you wanted to, but if you spent a lot of time building it, securing it, you don't necessarily have to. The only thing in the wintertime that we don't want to happen is we don't want water in your barrel to freeze, because water is the only liquid on the planet that actually expands when it freezes. And it does that at a force of 30,000 pounds per square inch of pressure. And so if you've got an inch of water in your barrel and it freezes, it's not going to do any harm. But if you've got a foot or 18 inches of water in your barrel and it freezes, it's very likely going to crack your barrel. So we don't want your barrel to freeze in the wintertime. So in the wintertime, to shorten that from happening, all you have to do is just open the drain and let your barrel just drain out naturally where it would have drained otherwise. And so your barrel is fine. If you'd like to take it down, you can take it down and just take your downspout extender and pull it to its longest length, which is typically somewhere between 5 and 6 feet, and just let it go down again where it would naturally have drained to begin with. Yes, so I have this question about the shortened life of plastic when exposed to UV, and absolutely. Your rain barrel is sitting in direct sun and it's going to get beaten on. It will degrade over time. And again, one of the nice things about these cheaper barrels, is that if you make your barrel with metal drains, brass drains, and spigots, those will continue to last. Your barrel might last you 5 years or 6 years, but you've paid $20 for the basket or for the barrel. You're only going to have to replace the barrel. In some of these other ones that you can buy from the home improvement stores, you can spend hundreds of dollars, and those things will also break down. Plastic breaks down in the sun. So the nice part is that if you're building this yourself, you can recycle all the pieces, which is why I don't recommend plastic pieces. I don't recommend a plastic drain. Actually, about 15 years ago, we used to use a plastic drain. They cracked, they broke. Spending the extra money on the drain and the spigot is something I highly recommend at all times. So just really quickly before we get to questions and finish up, because we did want to try to keep this to 7 o'clock, I'm doing good, is that if you are from Southern Maryland and you are interested in purchasing a barrel, once we are cleared to open and we are allowed to do something with having contact with the public again, Nicole and I will be sending out an email to all of you that are from the Southern Maryland area that have attended this workshop, giving you the ability to prepay online for a barrel with 3 or 4 different pickup locations in Southern Maryland. So you'll have to come and pick it up, and we'll do a drive-by. This is the way you'll see. This is one of my workshops in Charles County, but when I do the workshops in person, people can prepay for barrels. They have to sit through and listen to what you're listening to right now to be eligible for the discount, because the counties want to know that they're investing in you, and that by being educated, you'll put the barrel in and use the water the way you're supposed to. That by listening to this workshop, that we will give you that discount. Here's the beautiful part. You only ever have to listen to me one time. So when we are back full and functioning, so say you're not ready to commit right now. But next year, let's say we can all wrap our arms around each other again. And next May, I'm teaching my 3 workshops in Charles County, or next June, I'm teaching in St. Mary's and Calvert. We're going to send you an email that also says, hey, we're teaching a rain barrel workshop again here and here and here. And you've already taken one of our workshops. And if you're interested now in purchasing a barrel, you can purchase a barrel. You don't have to listen to Jackie speak again. We'll just let you come pick up a barrel. So, and you can pick up you can purchase as many barrels as you would like to purchase. Again, the basic barrel is $30, and this is for the 3 county participants. If you'd like a spigot, spigots aren't required. It's just a nicety. If you want to have that, we charge $8 for those. And then the downspout connector, which comes in multiple colors, is $10. This is all the same exact cost it cost me to pick up the same exact items at Home Depot or Lowe's. So there's no padding of anything here. I'm just making it so that I know that when you leave me, that you have the downspout connector and your barrel might get hooked up the same day versus you having to go to Lowe's or Home Depot or Ace Hardware and pick up the barrel yourself. So that's really just from my end of it. I don't know if anybody has any other questions or comments. I know Nicole has a really quick 5-question survey about the workshop, if you don't mind taking a few minutes to do that. But if you have any questions and you'd like to either say them out loud, that's great. We'll take them now. We'll take a few of the other questions. Do I also sell the overflow tubing? Oh, the overflow is part of the basic package. So the basic package for that $30, you're getting the barrel, you're getting the screen on top, you're getting the 2 caps that stop the water from sitting in the pouring holes. You're going to get the overflow, you're going to get a drain. So you will get all of those in the basic $30. The only extra is for the spigot and for the downspout connector. And if there are other organizations that would like us to come out and do workshops at your location, we are more than amenable to do that. I will say that the only thing that we do ask for assistance with is if you want rain barrels, the purchasing of rain barrels to be part of that workshop, we usually ask that the hosting organization help us to deliver the barrels to the site, because I don't have access to those types of trucks. When I work with the 3 county governments, St. Mary's, Calvert, and Charles, the county government actually sends their DPW trucks up to our research farm, and they pick up all the equipment for me, so I have it on site for the day of the event. Same with schools. Jenna, yes, absolutely. We've done some stuff in Charles County. So this is my contact information, both my phone number and my email address. We have everybody's email who registered. We know who you are because we see you in the group chat who showed up today. We will make sure that you all get access to this recording. As I mentioned, I do have 2 documents that is how to build this exact rain barrel if you want to go get all the pieces yourself, and how to install it. So we'll make sure that you get a copy of that as well.
And
So
we had 2 final questions. There was one about your thoughts on mosquito dunks using BT, and then your thoughts on using rain barrel water to help maintain pool water levels.
So I think pool water, I think that's probably this is my personal opinion. I can't see why it wouldn't be okay, because you're chlorinating the heck out of your pool. So I can't see how that wouldn't work, to be very honest. And oh gosh, remind me of the other one, Nicole. How did I?
Sure, it was your thoughts on using mosquito dunks.
Mosquito dunks. So yeah, I've heard a lot of different things. You just have to remember that when you're putting a chemical in there, that wherever you use that water, that chemical is going to go into that. So if you're using the mosquito dunk and you're washing your car, or you're washing your dog, or you're doing, then you just have to know that mosquito dunk is going to be there. The way I look at it is, as long as you're using your water, your screen is on the way the screen is supposed to be put on, you're going to keep mosquitoes at bay. I think that's the best advice I can give you on that. I don't personally use them myself.
Great. Well, that was all the questions that I can see. So, and we're ending right on time, so that's good news. I want to thank everybody for joining us this evening and Jackie for a great presentation.
Everybody have a great weekend. No, it's Tuesday. All right. Well, I'm just going to tell you all to have a great weekend. Have a great week, everyone.